Introduction to the legal framework of business. People, think for yourself. A business operates in a very complex framework of different kinds of relationship with different stakeholders. And this business relationship with the different elements in the framework is again regulated by a similarly complex legal framework. If we talk about this relationship, this complex network of relationships, we should first of all think about the different stakeholders. There's like customers, and then there's like several suppliers that you've got to have relationships with. There's employees, there's financiers, there's proprietors, and of course there's competitors. And you should have relationships with all of them. So the legal framework does not only cover all those relationships that I've just mentioned, but think that in terms of negligence, for example, where your neighbors are also covered. So the law is also interested or covering your relationship with your neighbors, and then with the revenue authority. Think for yourself, you can't just decide you're not going to pay your taxes. So there's certain relationships. The environment, the business and the environment. Think about businesses that create externalities. We try to prevent them using acts like the Resources Management Act. Relationships with central government, relationships with the local government that you should have, and then of course relationships, it's like that in all countries, with indigenous people. If we look at this business framework, the legislature, people, business organizations are affected by all the laws passed by our parliament. Say, for example, if we think about the new law on property, the interests that you can't deduct, brought in by Labour, it's something, the whole business environment is suddenly changing for you if you've been like a property investor. The judiciary interprets the law. The courts help in ensuring that businesses run smoothly. So this is why we want the whole business framework to support businesses in New Zealand. And some of the important acts that will help in this whole process, the economic constitution, like we kind of like refer to it, is the State Sector Act of 1988 and the Public Finance Act of 1987, the Reserve Bank Act of 1989, and the Fiscal Responsibility Act of 1993. There's one big one, or very important one, that you should definitely take note of, the Financial Markets Authority. So it's the New Zealand government agency responsible for all financial regulation, basically. It is responsible for regulating all financial market participants, exchanges, and the setting and enforcing of financial regulations. The last thing that we want to look at is all the regulatory bodies. There are important regulatory bodies that can intervene in the market and impact on the business in significant ways. We've already mentioned the Financial Markets Authority, but you all know the Commerce Commission because we studied it in commercial law. We spent quite a lot of time focusing just on the Commerce Commission. And they basically responsible to investigate alleged breaches of the Commerce Act of 1986, the Fair Trading Act of 1986, and other legislation. And then people, we've got professional regulation bodies. These regulatory bodies have significant market power, which impacts on the operation of the market. And people, this is all for the benefit of businesses, and it's there in the national interest.